Right, thanks, Liam. So, back with us now, we've got Mike. Most people know you obviously the journalist and bowls reporter, but these days, but of course you played at the highest level yourself, didn't you, Mike?
Yes, I did, Mel. Not many people are aware of that, as you say. I started my bowls career 63 years ago as a 7-year-old schoolboy. I used to come out of school and go to the green that was at that time at the back of the old Oak House Museum in West Bromwich and play my dad. My dad was a member of a club that you know very well and the listeners know very well, which is now known as West Brom Supporters, but in those days was known as the old Oak House. And of course it was a private club. No ladies allowed to play, obviously, in those days, and neither young lads under the age of 16. But in those days there were allotments at each side of the bowling green, and at the far end was a large gate. And the man who looked after the green lived opposite. The house now is a white painted one. And he was an old man who used to go to sleep in his rocking chair in an afternoon. And he was well known, his name was Joe Dickinson, and he used to look after the green, keep his eye on the club. And I as a little lad used to realise he'd gone to sleep. So I used to come out of school, have a look and see if Joe was asleep in the chair. Yes, he was. Sneak under the gate, throw a few bowls on the bowling green and hop off before anybody found out. It wasn't until the age of 16, of course, that I was allowed to become a member. And that's where not only did I learn the tactics of the game, I then earned my county place much later on with such well-known players as Billy Gibbons, Joe Harrison, Cyril Knowles. And at that time, I played in a team which consisted of 10 county players. And some very outstanding players at that time. And
what time was that?
That would be in the 1970s.
And what team was that?
Old Oak House
The
themselves, yes. And that was in the days when we used to travel by bus to go to all the away games. And we used to play at venues, for example, like the Cock and Magpies, which was one of the most difficult greens in a well-known county green in Warwick and Worcester. Having played there for some considerable time, I then moved from there to, of course, the Barley Mow team, which of course was probably one of the most formidable teams in the Warwick and Worcester. Again, playing for the county side, along with the likes of Brian Porter, Alan Powell, Laddie Green, the late Keith Shaw, Steve Ainsworth, and we had a team, we won everything in those days, probably the equivalent of the modern day George and Greville. Not many people actually realise that, and I had a funny occurrence only last year when an elderly gentleman came up to me, typical black country language, and said, "Yo, don't do so bad reporting considering you I played the game." And the person next to him knew me very well and said, "Oh, all right then, considering you played 45 games for the county and played for the top two teams at the time." And this chap just looked at me. I mean, to be quite truthful, Mel, I'm amazed now, because the bowls don't seem to make their way to the jack as they did years ago. But that's a brief history, of course.
Yeah, that's good going down. So in those days, I mean, in Warwick and Worcester, you played this at Barley Mow, Old Oak House. Who was you rate as your best player you played with?
Oh, without a doubt, Alan Powell. Alan, of course, won the county merit 4 times. Not only a tremendous player, a tremendous tactician, and a tremendous captain. One of the problems that the modern day game has is there are people who don't be able to decide on a measure quite easily. You know, you ask them and they look all the way around and they think he's on and he's on. Alan, similar to Norman Fletcher, if you like, up in the north. When Alan told you were on, and you knew you were on, mind you. And I'll tell you something else that he used to do. You hear that saying today many times as you stand on the end of the bowling green, "Get 'em up." Right? No, not Alan Powell. As a captain, he used to say, if you were short, give 'em a chance. And there's a subtle difference, you know.
Sure.
So yes, he's a tremendous player, Alan Powell.
During your playing career, I mean, I know you're still playing now, but during your playing career, what would you say is your proudest moment?
Well, I reached the semi-final of the Warwick and Worcester merit twice. Yes, my proudest moment, I go back to the age of 16. It was the year that Billy Gibbons, who was one of the other great players I played number 12 for Warwick and Worcester, Tony's dad, for many years. And he won the Warwick and Worcester merit. And I think the first first time really, entered the West Bromwich Merit, which in those days was a big entry. And I qualified for the final, and the final took place on the Revo, and I was this 16-year-old whippersnapper, if you like, and was certainly, if betting had taken place, 100 to 1 outsider. And I played Bill in the final, and it was 20 across, and Bill played a football almost impossible, and my father, who was alive then, was watching, and I beat it. I still don't know how, and I've still got the cutting today, because the headline in the Argus in those days was Wakelam's feat. In other words, FEAT, but beating the football. That, I think, was my proudest moment, my first competition that I'd won. But I was always proud to play for my county.
Yeah, that's nice people. I presume if you've gone to Merit a couple of times, you had a couple of All England experiences, didn't you?
I did, yes. I had an experience up in the north, but I also had an experience in M&Bs when I fancied my chances. And I remember on the match green at that time, I was about 17, 12 up, something like that, and never scored again. And that was probably one of my most disappointing on greens that I knew. But nevertheless, that happens, of course.
Yeah, that's right. So just a reminder, this is Mel Evans, you're talking to Mike Wakelam, we're live on Talkingbowls Radio. Still to come later in the show, we've got Arthur Murray and Jimmy Darby, so stay tuned for that. If you've got any messages or any questions you want to put them up on the screen, and Lynn will do her best to answer them. So Mike, we spoke about your bowls career. How did you end up with this journalism thing? If you've been in that for 30 years, you was obviously still playing pretty much at the top level at the time.
Well, it's strange really, because in 1979 I had a dilemma. My dad at the time used to say to me, "You've got 3 priorities in your life, my lad, and they're in the wrong order." And they were West Bromwich Albion, Crown Green Bowls and school. And I remember I went to a function, and the late Ted Windsor, who was a well-respected officer in Warwick and Worcester, said to me, "Have you applied?" And I looked at him, I didn't know what he was on about. He said, "Well, there's a vacancy on BRMB Radio with Tony Butler for somebody to cover Crown Green Bowls." I said, "Well, I hadn't applied, I didn't even know about it." "Oh dear," he said, "that's bad, that's embarrassing." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Because I recommended you. I'd met Tony Butler and I recommended you." And I thought, well, no, won't hear anymore. Until this voice came on the phone. "I understand you know about Crown Green Bowls, son." Typical Butler. And I went in there and he frightened me to death, because he said to me, "This is what you do," as usual. But having been a professional broadcaster, I learned a lot of Tony, and he was very helpful, and very helpful for our sport. I mean, okay, he used to set me up, if you like, send me out to a Mittles and Butlers and Ansell's match as a teetotal, and then make fun of me afterwards when I got back in the studio. But of course, the outstanding broadcast with Tony in those days, and funnily enough, it relates to your guest tonight, was when I was at the Waterloo Hotel, when Terry Turner beat Arthur Murray to win the Champion of Champions at 50 to 1. And Tony Butler got me on straight away and realised that he killed Grandstand, who were doing it, and he pretended that he didn't know, and of course we did, and he bought us a bottle of champagne, and that was probably a highlight of a broadcasting career before TV.
Question on the screen, somebody is saying, did you ever play on the Waterloo?
I've played on the Waterloo in friendlies, but never actually played in the Waterloo in a game. I've won many games from the side, I've beaten Brian Duncan many times.
Oh yeah, everybody has, hasn't they? He's never won many games on there, Brian.
No.